Are you all set?
Yep, I'm recording as well.
Okay. Well, we're Joe-less again.
Yep.
Which is a sad time. But you know what's not sad? Is the return of the Real Racers podcast.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, third edition.
Third edition. No Tommy again, but Tommy's a busy boy.
Yeah.
We'll make do. But we're here. I'm Davey.
I'm Matthew.
And I'm Davey. Welcome to the Fake Racers podcast, formerly known as the Real Racers podcast, or vice versa, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to say the wrong name of the show on the actual intro, so that would be in bad taste.
Just get as many names out there as possible. So.
Just confuse the audience.
Yeah.
The little audience we have, never let them know our next move.
That's right. You're actually listening to Oof Sides podcast ambush.
Welcome to Disqualified. Oh my god. It's Maverick Night in America. No. Okay. But I just want to make sure to thank you guys all for tuning in. Please consider dropping a like or a rating or interacting with us in some way, whether it be on Spotify, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoy it, if you enjoy us, if you want to support us, even if you hate us, you know, there's a lot of possibilities out there, but we would appreciate it. But we can dive right into hot laps because we were at Hot Atlanta. Tell you what, I did not have Daniel Suarez knocking down the ATL sweep on my bingo card, but he almost did it.
Yeah. I wonder, actually, I'm going to look this up real quick if he's been like historically good here, because the spring race, you kind of look at, not necessarily a fluke, but, you know, like, oh, okay, it's a plate race, and he wins it in a kind of a crazy 3-wide fashion. And he came to play. And I think a big part of that was just, like, feeling confident, like, this is the win that got us into the playoffs. Let's go do it again. And just about pulled it off, like you said.
Yeah, like, got up there at the right time, too, because he wasn't up there all day. He wasn't one of the players all day, kind of like, you know, a Ty Gibbs was or something like that. He came in hot, right at the right time, timed it well, didn't suffer the fate of Denny Hamlin, who did not time it well, which we'll get to later.
Yeah.
Like, he was just, like, he was just on it. And, I thought I saw a stat somewhere that he has been good at the New Atlanta.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
100%.
His finishes in 22, 4th, and then 6th. And then last year, 29th, but I'm pretty sure he crashed. And then 2nd, and then won earlier this year in another 2nd place. So
yeah, wow,
like,
holy crap.
Almost all top 5s.
I mean, you take away the wreck, that's a average finish of, like, 3rd? That's
yeah, pretty much.
Which I think just goes to show that this Atlanta, as we have said a million times, it just changes almost every single time we come here, and it gets such a unique brand of racing. Like, it's not a Daytona or a Talladega, but it's not Atlanta of old, or it's not any of the other intermediates, and I find that fascinating.
Yeah, it is, and I saw somebody say this, and it's not a one-for-one comparison, because the reason why they race this way are for different reasons, but people talk about a lot, it reminds them of old Daytona, where handling is really important. Still, despite, you know, it being a restrictor plate track. Right.
That's actually a really good comparison. And I'm surprised I haven't heard that earlier, because that's so accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, you know, old Daytona was like that because it was so rough. It's so tight that you're just on the absolute edge the whole time. And I think that's why. But yeah, we were all pretty, I wouldn't say critical, more skeptical of the Atlanta repave, and it's had its ups and downs, but I mean, the last 2 years have all been really good.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't, like, I do wish that I could see what this car would put on at, like, the original Atlanta layout. Maybe not quite up to the wear that we had in those final seasons, because it was really rough, but, like, you know, like 2011 Atlanta, like, I'd love to see what the next gen car would pull off there, but the racing's been good regardless.
Oh, yeah.
Which is good.
We should also mention Joey Logano did win. He and Suarez.
Funny thing about those Logano wins, man.
Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday, and because there is the whole, like, all that for a Logano win, and I think I finally figured out the reason why they all feel like that is because Joey doesn't lead a ton of laps anymore. So there's not like, you don't get these races where Logano just goes out and is the dude, and it's like, oh, okay, well, this is going to be a Joey Logano day. It's always at the end of something insane, and then he just happens to be the guy who ends up out front. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Like, really, he just taints everything he touches. I don't understand.
He really does.
It.
Yeah.
I don't get. And it's like, I don't even hate him that much. I just feel like he wins a race, and it's like,
it's just deflating. Yeah.
Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But anyway, those were kind of like the two big takeaways from like the finish. Something else to note: we didn't really have a big one, but we did have one big impact with Larson and Briscoe. That was a ridiculous crash. That just every piece of it was like something out of a different universe, because Larson lost it and hit the wall all by himself, which it's Kyle Larson, it's Atlanta, and I mean, it goes back to your point that handling's important, but like, damn.
Yeah.
And then Chase Briscoe nails him. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt that, like, listen, you can't see him. You know, he was in like that perfect kind of area of the track where, like, you know, you like there's people on his outside. Like, he was kind of in the middle and yada yada. But god damn, he plowed him.
Yeah, that everything about that was just like, you don't see people hit that hard usually. I mean, especially since like big overcorrect, head on impact into the wall. And then, like you said, just the plow. It's just one of those things where you're just like, oh god, like it just
Truck Series level plow.
Yeah, it just kept getting worse. It is, the pictures of it look nasty as well. It's like mid impact. It is crazy.
It's like a very underrated. We haven't seen the next gen that destroyed looking kind of look to Larson's car specifically.
Yeah.
Which I think didn't get, I don't want to say appreciated, but like didn't get talked about enough how destroyed his race car was, which is a good thing, but still.
Yeah.
It was shocking to see the next gen like that.
That is the crazy thing too about the next gen is these cars are so like indestructible, and then you see these crashes that are like this, and then it makes you be like, oh, that was a hit, because like the car is crushed. So
I think Briscoe was even talking about like how he was lucky he didn't hit his ankles or anything on like the pet. Like, he was just very lucky that everything missed everything somehow. Yeah. Which I don't blame him, because that was a hefty hit. But outside of that, I mean, really, we didn't have anything happen in the race. That was like accident wise.
It was pretty clean. You had Buescher do the same thing almost later in the race, but collected, or that was earlier in the race, wasn't it? I can't remember. Ooh. But collected Blaney and Truex, which Blaney ended up still finishing pretty well, but the Truex playoff meltdown is in full effect. And and then we also kind of, or I wouldn't say forgot to mention it, but Ty Gibbs, through some strategy, got up front late, and looked like he was going to be on pace to win his first Cup race, and then everybody just kind of ganged up on him at the end and just sent him back.
Yeah, so he started losing ground, and then we had the Walmart sign caution.
Yeah,
which was honestly was a shame in my opinion, because like it kind of seemed, I think they were talking about how the field was like fuel saving up to that point. And they were talking about, like, like 10 to go, it seems like that's going to kind of be like when everyone thinks they're good and can really start going. And we had hit like 11 to go, and it was starting to ramp up. And I was like, oh, this is getting good. And then they threw the yellow and zoomed in on a corrugated Walmart sign on the track. I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Give them credit for removing the other one that was in the holder or whatever. But
yeah. It was funny, too, because the Atlanta's social media team like put up a video of them installing those banners or whatever, and everybody was like, "Oh no!"
Oh my god! Also, sorry if my laughs are crispy, but I'm a little sick. I didn't mention that at the beginning, but just ignore my cough if I happen to do when I try to move the mic away. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the last time we had a caution because something like fell off the track onto the racing surface. Because there was that time a caution light fell onto the track. I think it was the first one I thought of. Yeah.
And I guess it doesn't count if like it's like the Roval where like a car hit a sign and then take it around the racetrack. That's not the same.
That was just asking for it at that point.
Yeah, I can't think of. I mean, it does happen, but it just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Very, recently. That just feels like something that happens a lot more often in my head, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. We do have to talk about, though, the final lap. Because, like you mentioned, for a lot of guys, some good runs went downhill, but Denny Hamlin's, I think, was the most notable. Yeah, played the strat, and I'm not going into this with the perspective of I'm gonna make fun of him, because his idea going into the race made tons of sense, right? These races have been usually chaos, and he was like, I'm gonna lay back, don't really care about stage points. We have a big advantage over who's behind us, and I'm just gonna charge through the field at the end. And not only did he not charge through the field at the end, but he got caught up in the last lap crash. And finished. Hang on, I got it pulled up here. 24th. And just like that, Denny Hamlin is now 11th. 5 points, or no, not 5 points clear. 2 points clear of the cut line.
Yeah, definitely went. So I think up until the sign caution, I was like, okay, well, there's a chance it could work out.
Yeah,
because I'm looking at the race ramping up at that point. I'm like, I mean, how do they not wreck? How do they not wreck at this point? I'm looking 20, 30 to go. I'm like, it's Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's this Atlanta. They got to wreck, right? It's going to pay off. And then that sign yellow happens, and we don't get a lot of green flag racing after that. And with this Atlanta, it takes probably a lap to get up to speed, and they had a lap each time until, a yellow came out or something like that.
Yeah.
It just, like you said, I totally understand the idea. And I think there was a half decent chance it could have even worked out, to get a top 10 if they got their big wreck. But once that's the risk with those strategies, though, right? If you don't get the wreck or the caution comes out early and you don't necessarily you don't get the chance to make up the spots on the track.
Yeah,
it just all goes to waste. You did it for no reason.
Yeah.
It's just that. I mean, that's the risk, and that's the risk I assume they knew going in, and of course, worst case scenario happened, and they finished where they did.
Yeah, and the biggest problem is it didn't work, because if this works out and it is chaos and Denny Hamlin sneaks through with an 8th or 7th place at the end, he's going to look like a genius. But unfortunately, it just all went to hell on the last lap, and he just had nowhere to go.
Yeah, on top of it not working, getting caught up in the wreck, just insult to injury.
Yeah. Yeah.
Came across the finish line looking like he was stumbling out of the bar. The car was destroyed.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable.
Harrison Burton was also caught up in that, which was a bummer, because with the playoff guys having issues, and he ran in the 8 to 12 range, it felt like most of the day. It was all right, we've been memeing about it, but there is a chance that he could sneak through, and then he absolutely got the worst of the last lap crash.
Yes, he did. And especially because, especially like you said, there was a good shot. He was above the cut line at one point, multiple times throughout the race.
Yeah. And
all went to crap. I don't know, man. The outlook heading into Watkins Glen, it's anyone's game. I don't know what to think, because people keep having bad days that I don't expect to have bad days. The Martin Truex Jr. thing is hilarious, but I'm he's going to turn it around. He's going to have something, and he's just not.
No.
He's just not doing it. I don't get it.
No. And, it is funny, too, to look at it, how I think all three of us picked Suarez and Cindric out in the first round, and they're sitting 7th and 9th in points right now.
Sitting pretty.
They're both good road course racers, too, going into next week, so...
I didn't think about that part, actually. I think if you're Brad Keselowski, you're in trouble. Harrison Burton is in trouble every week until he gets a win.
Yeah.
Martin Truex Jr., I don't know, man. He seems like he's got a foot out the door. And Chase Briscoe, who had momentum heading into this week, obviously, like we talked about, was in that crash with Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
Man, he needs something special, because he is down and out, and he really, really, really needed a good run this past weekend, and he did not get it.
No. So, Yeah, tough scene after first race of the playoffs.
Yeah. No shit. I think if you're a Hendrick driver, you're feeling pretty good because Hendrick hasn't lost it Watkins Glen since 2017 or since 2016, I think.
2017. Really? Oh my gosh! Hang on.
Yeah. You can check that up for me.
Look this up.
I was pretty sure.
I know since at least 2018. Actually, yeah, it has been since 2018. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, which is an insane stat, by the way.
Yeah.
That is a lot of years now losing, and I don't necessarily know if I see that stopping, because they got a strong group.
Oh, yeah.
And strong race cars. I mean, Denny Hamlin needs to have a good run. Ty Gibbs needs to not implode.
Yeah, especially with, even if Gibbs didn't get as well of a finish as they probably would have, having led with like 15 laps to go. Still, like, in pretty good shape coming out of Atlanta.
Yeah, given what could have happened,
Yeah. Anything else?
I guess that's the Cup race. Xfinity, if we want to just jump into it.
Yeah, might as well.
Austin Hill win, copy-paste every single discussion we've had about Austin Hill winning in Atlanta or any super speedway.
How many times has he won at this version of Atlanta? I gotta look this up now. Let's see. So
I mean, at least 2 off the top of my head, but more than that for sure.
2, 3. He swept this year. He's won 4 out of 6, and he has another second place on top of that.
Good lord, dude.
I think he might be pretty good here.
Yeah, Can we stop the narrative that Austin Hill is bad? He's just an asshole. He's not bad.
I started saying
massive cock.
I started saying it as a meme, and I think people just started thinking it was unironic.
Like he's an immortal fuckhead, but he is good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But the biggest news from that finish was not Austin Hill winning again. It was more manufacturer's drama with the Chandler Smith move and the Corey Haim not agreeing with it move, which caused some drama after the race. Me personally, I'm so sick of the manufacturer games, and I'm a firm believer that ever since this has kind of become more of a popular thing, like when we started hearing about like the manufacturer team meetings at super speedway races, I feel like the racing has gone downhill. I feel like that is like one of the bigger reasons that the racing's gone downhill at super speedways, not necessarily the car. Like I know this is happening with the Gen 6, but hello, which one's that?
Chaser's
which
upset.
Is that? Oh, Chaser. I figured it was Chaser. I was going to say, Chaser, but I didn't want to besmirch the good name of Chaser if it wasn't. But yeah, I hate it. I hate that this is a thing. I hate that this is like, oh, well, now we know Corey Haim's not staying, or Chandler Smith's not staying, or whatever the narrative is. Like, I hate that because it shouldn't matter as much as it does. And I understand why the Man-U's care, but god damn, just let them race. They want to win. You know?
Yeah, I see a lot of talk about like, or I don't know how am I gonna. I'm trying to think of how to word this, but it's like people talking about like, well, I would just ignore those team orders, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, it sucks, but you're not gonna win if you do that. You know,
no.
Like the whole reason this started was everybody watched the DEI guys in the early 2000s clown on everybody because it was like, wait, they're working together, and then Penske started doing it really well, and everybody else in the field had to adapt to it, and now you have, this manufactured gamesmanship. But I think it was Kyle Petty who basically said, like, Corey Haim's not Chandler Smith's teammate. Like, they're both in Toyotas, but they have different logos on the cars, and they're owned by different people. Like, yes, you would like them to work together if you're Toyota, but under no circumstances are they, like, obligated to,
No. Yeah, I agree with that completely. You can't, listen, I know there's a lot of money involved with the sport. I know I've never been in the position, but as a racer, and I'm sure you feel the same way, like it just I would never ask like someone driving for me to do that,
Yeah.
I never say, hey, please don't go for the win. Oh man, it just like heebie-jeebies. Gives me like the bubble guts, man. I just don't like it.
Yeah, and I think you can make the case that if the two of them work together, they both have a better shot at winning. But again, I think that just comes down to a team allegiance. And if Corey Heim looks at that and says, I have a better shot, getting by you and trying to deal with Austin Hill myself, he almost made it pay off, And if it does pay off, then this isn't, it's probably an issue and Chandler Smith's probably upset, but Corey Heim can look at it and go, well, I'm trying to win. And he did. Or in that scenario, he does.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure somebody out there is going to bring up what we had to say after the ARCA race at Daytona this year. I think that's a different scenario. That's not, Gustine being ordered to help out his teammate and not doing it. That's Jake Finch giving up his advantage to help his teammate and his teammate stabbing him in the back, right? It'd be one thing if those two guys had some sort of agreement in place and then Corey Heim broke it, which, as far as we know, that wasn't the deal.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And if you can't see the difference in that, there's really no hope.
Yeah.
Keep listening to our show so you can, know wheel. If you want to know how we feel about it. But yeah, and honestly, like, it's debatable if he had a better chance going down there, and even then, like, he's still, again, they're not teammate. I don't know. It just this is one of those things that's been getting more and more on my nerves every time we come to a drafting track, and I hear of I just hear of all the meetings and stuff. I just don't like it.
Yeah,
it was fine when it was just the teams, but now that it's like they want 12 drivers to all work together, it's just, man, what are we doing? Like, how do we decide who's going to win?
I always go back to, it's the fall 2011 Talladega race. It was all the tandems, right? And Trevor Bayne and Jeff Gordon worked together all day. And Trevor told Jeff over the radio, I'm pushing you. And then a Ford guy came over the radio and said, if you push Jeff Gordon, we're pulling you out of the car. And everybody absolutely hated that situation. And everybody felt bad for Trevor Bayne. And now, 10 years later, like, popular consensus is completely flipped. And we're like, how dare he not help his teammate, right?
Yeah.
It's just absurd. So, I don't know what you can do about it. Because in the end, teams are going to do what's going to help them win.
Yep.
But it is what it is, I guess. So.
And considering what we're going to get into from the shop here in a moment, the manufacturers have a lot of pull. Yeah. So, do we see anything changing? In that realm, no. But I really hope it does somehow. But that said, we're running right through it. Let's take it from the shop. Well, we got more charter talk. That was so well timed. You're always on the button, man.
I have it on my stream deck now, so it's just handy.
You have a shop like nuisance on your stream deck.
I literally have an entire folder just for like fake racers stuff. So it's like, okay, here's the button that opens Audacity, and then right below it is the button that makes the falling pipe noise. Anyway, charter talk.
Yeah, if you weren't sick of charter talk, well, good news. If you were sick of it, bad news.
So are we.
Yeah, well, at least we're kind of, well, we'll see. I don't want to speak too soon. Knock on wood. The last iteration that NASCAR said was the last iteration went unsigned by two teams. Those two teams being Front Row Motorsports and 2311. Notably, both looking to acquire another charter for next season. There's a lot of talk around this iteration of the charters. Like a lot. What's up?
Oh, sorry, my sound cut out for a second.
Oh, you're good. So, some of the big news talking points of this iteration of charters, it was finally confirmed that, up and down the order of charter teams, like the last place charter team will be getting, 4 to 5 more million for whatever, like finishing last or whatever in revenue. And that obviously goes all the way up the chain to every charter, just more media rights revenue in general. There's talk of what might happen to driver's image rights moving from the teams to NASCAR, which teams aren't happy with, but I don't know.
strange. I'll say it's a weird stipulation. I feel like
I think the implication there is that NASCAR wants to do some of the marketing of the drivers on their own without having to go through the teams, which sounds like a good idea, but I don't like the idea that that means that the teams won't get anything from the driver's image being used when that driver directly represents the team. Like, I feel like there's just no way that makes sense. I'm not really sure maybe there's percentages involved that we are not hearing. Like, we're not getting the full thing, but anyway, lastly, I think for this is there was a lot of chatter from the two remaining teams that have not signed it, implying that other teams were under duress and threats to sign ahead of, by the time their deadline was, which was I think Friday night or Saturday morning or something, just before the Atlanta race.
Yeah.
Which is shady, to say the least.
There was also that quote, which has not been attributed to anybody, but everybody's speculating on who said it. That apparently they said NASCAR's charter agreement is, quote, like full-blown communism, which is an interesting...
That's Richard Childress.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, everybody thinks it's RC. Yeah. Did you see the other quote, though, that Bob Jenkins... Or it wasn't a quote, but it was... Or no, it was a quote by Bob Jenkins talking about the agreement they got.
What was it?
So, it was 105 pages long, and according to Front Row owner Bob Jenkins, the document was untenable to be reviewed in time to meet a looming deadline. The team shares many of the same concerns as 2311, and Jenkins noted, quote, "I know a lot of people were uncomfortable but felt they had to sign." There was also multiple teams told AP the document was riddled with grammatical errors and not something ready for signing, and the team sent requests actually, back to NASCAR. Ooh. So how true that is, I don't know, but that's odd.
Yeah, I did see some of that. What I saw, it kind of seemed like the revisions and stuff were then, like, they revised it and then sent it again, which is what the teams ended up signing, I think. Yeah. Either way, not a great look, if that's true.
I should also mention that was from Jenna Fryer on Yahoo Sports, so gotcha. Cite my sources.
So also, I didn't have enough time to put this in the show sheet because this happened 40 minutes ago on SiriusXM. Justin Marks talked about it a little bit. I'll read some of what he had to say, at least the notable points. Obviously, NASCAR wanted the agreement signed before the playoffs started, and this one's interesting. NASCAR and most teams, on average, agree to 75% to 90% of the terms in the agreement, which, that is significantly more than I would have guessed, given how many hangups there have been and where we're at right now. You know? And I wonder where the difference is between teams, especially, and what they disagree with. I would assume they disagree with the driver rights thing because that made it out into the news. So, why would they leak that otherwise?
Yeah, exactly. That, and obviously the ongoing thing of adding 4 charters and the France family holding basically rights to them.
Yeah.
Which... So I understand it from the perspective of, okay, we want to bring new manufacturers in and we're going to hold on to those for when they show up. But if you are a team like, say, 2311 or Front Row who are trying to get one, there's no guarantee of a Honda or a Dodge or a BMW joining and taking those 4 charters. And so then then you end up with a situation, like we've said 1,000 times, like Penske and IndyCar. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the future of this is going to be, and as the year goes on, the idea of not necessarily a breakaway series, but a boycott becomes more and more real, because I don't know what anybody's plan is at this point if this doesn't get done.
Yeah. Other quotes from Justin. There's consensus that the agreement is pretty much the best that the teams are going to get. Yada yada yada. As for potential threats or revoking of charters being, that sort of innuendo, NASCAR said they were done negotiating with the teams. The deal is finalized and is not going to change. It was up to the teams to make the decision to sign or not. Wow.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong statement.
Yeah. Wow.
And
Justin Marks being Justin Marks. Ultimately, we have to make a decision. I looked at that and said, well, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's the thing, is a team like 2311 feel gutsy enough to actually not sign it? You know?
God, man.
Because I feel like Front Row Motorsports probably doesn't have the financial footing or the clout to do that. But 2311, I feel like they could. But I don't know if they will. Yeah. But if push came to shove, like, that's a lot of backing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a huge risk, you know, going up against, you know, not only the France family in NASCAR, but going up against the terms of agreement that every other team in the sport but two have signed.
Oh, yeah.
That hold a charter. I don't, you know, where did I this is the first time in the charter agreement where I genuinely have no idea where it goes from now. Because, like, before it was kind of like, okay, well, they'll keep negotiating and eventually something will come and we'll kind of get to this point where we're at right now. Except this point happened and it didn't happen the way we thought it would.
No.
Because now everyone's done. But two people say they don't want to be done. But they're done. Like, I don't see NASCAR budging, you know?
No, I don't.
And that's the consensus. And I don't doubt. Listen, Rick Hendrick is a lot of things. I don't like that man at all. But what he isn't is, like, the kind of guy that's going to wishy-wash his way through it and he's in.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see Rick Hendrick putting up with, like, the in and out stuff. Roger Penske, same thing. Like, I don't see it. So I don't know where we go.
Yeah.
I do, there's a small part of me that, and I hate this part of me, that, like, because I don't ever want to defend the France family, right? But, like,
yeah.
You know, there's a small part of me that's like, you know, these two teams are looking for a charter. Are they just trying to, like, scare the market into devaluing charters and then snatching a charter? And then, like, I don't know, what, like, is there a play? Because there's got to be a play. I just, like,
yeah.
I find it hard to believe that. And I'm sorry, I want you to say your point.
No, you're fine. I'm just
this is intriguing.
Along for the ride.
Like, I find it hard to believe that teams like all the other teams in the sport can look at the charter deal and say, I can build a business around that. And then a team like 2311, who definitely doesn't need the extra help with sponsorship dollars, looks at it and says, well, I can't. And so there's got to be something extra. There's got to be a motive. And in Front Row Motorsports, I don't know how they're getting, like, through this. I don't know what their plan is either. But the fact that those two are together, it's a piece of the puzzle, and I just don't know what goddamn piece it is.
Yeah,
anyway.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's like 2311, I feel like you can connect the dots and figure out this is what they want. But Front Row is kind of a mystery in this. And it's just like what you say. Like, Penske and Hendrick, they're here to race. The other stuff, whatever, you know. But 2311 especially, and I feel like we talked about this recently, like, they are taking a very different approach to being a race team and being a brand. And I think Front Row has been trying to do the same. And so maybe that's why they kind of feel connected in this. It's just odd. It reminds me, I mean, the only thing this reminds me of is when Curtis Turner tried to unionize the drivers in the 60s. And NASCAR kicked him to the curb. And it almost felt like we were starting to get there, but now we're down to the last two holdouts.
Yeah.
And, you know, now that these are the only two holdouts, like, they don't really have a lot of leverage anymore. Because 2311's a huge brand, but could NASCAR go on without them? Yeah, it would not be good, but they could absolutely go on without them. And Front Row's got a lot of young talent, but they're not exactly a brand name, so...
Again, and that is it, right? Like, that's the confusing part. What is the connection? Why is it those two? Why is it not Trackhouse or Spire?
Yeah, or even
kind of expect
like RFK, which has been rebranding itself over the last few years. It's just odd, yeah.
Anyway, now that the stressful, annoying part's over with, the fun part, press conference scheduled for September 10th, 2024. That's tomorrow. It's Tuesday of this week. With all the parties, and I didn't want to list all the names, but with all the parties involved with Larson's double, this is probably for next season. It's all but confirmed. Kyle Larson's going back to do the double. Well, he's going to do the double for the first time because he didn't do it this season. Which, say what you want about Kyle Larson, is cool, and I'm excited.
It's great for racing. So
yep, nothing more to say. I hope he kicks ass.
Yeah, it's funny like listing all the people, and it's like, oh boy, I wonder who it could be. I wonder what it could be about.
Rick Hendrick, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Larson, with Arrow McLaren.
Yeah.
Huh. Well.
So yeah.
And that's really it from the shop. Other than I just want to give a quick shout out, and I know you'll appreciate this too, to both SVG and Juan Pablo Montoya.
Hell yeah.
They're going to be racing this weekend at the Glen in the Cup Series. Juan Pablo Montoya racing the 50 car with 2311 or whatever that satellite deal is. Regardless, really freaking cool.
Oh yeah,
he's back.
Love that Montoya's back.
Oh yeah, and in the same race as a Shane Van Gisbergen and for what it's worth, an AJ Allmendinger. Just
that's right.
Freaking awesome. Love that we're still getting that.
Yeah.
But I think that covers it for the week of racing, at least.
Yeah, I think so.
Matt,
what is?
Yeah, a bottom split moment.
What is my bottom split moment? I'm just gonna give it to the whole 450 motocross pack.
Ooh.
So about 2 months ago, Jet Lawrence tore a ligament in his thumb, and then Chase Sexton went on a tear after that and won the championship. And everybody's been talking about all right, we just had these other two guys come back from the same injury, and they weren't nearly at their same level. And Chase Sexton has all the momentum. If Jet comes out and beats all of you guys, just hang it up. And Jet went 2-1 and won the overall for the SMX playoffs round 1. So, yeah. So
okay.
You guys spotted him basically, or he spotted you guys basically a 2-month head start on getting ready for these races, and he still came out and won. So, good luck, guys.
Good night.
Enjoy the next 10 years. How about you?
I got sick on my birthday.
Yeah.
So, really nothing to add to that. I just got sick on my birthday, and I'm still sick, and it's not great. But at least it was my birthday. So
yeah.
What was your road to pro moment?
I'm gonna go with. I finally got better internet, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
hell yeah.
Yeah, I've joined the 21st century. Now I won't have to leave my computer on for 6 hours to upload an episode of Oof Sides, so that'll be fun.
That means I'm gonna get your audio really quick tonight.
Hell yeah, you are.
Take that, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, first time Joe's not even here for the benefit of it. How about you?
I guess my road to pro moment is at least it was my birthday.
Yeah, it's something.
Lauren got me some Tottenham stuff that is still in the mail, but I'll get it eventually. And I bought myself some shoes.
Hell yeah.
And spent some time with. I spent time with the Fam Jam last week in preparation of my birthday, but it worked out because I'm sick.
Yeah.
Anyway, wow, we made it through this. We're 2 people, and we've recorded 40 minutes of audio, which is a feat.
Look at us go.
Usually these episodes are way shorter. Anyway, that was the Fake Racers podcast, guys. If we appreciate you watching and listening, tuning in, however you do. Please make sure to drop a comment or a like on the video if you're watching on YouTube. Drop a rating or follow us on Spotify. Actually, drop a comment on Spotify too, because Spotify has comments now. It's crazy. Find us on Twitter at Fake Racers. Also find us on Twitter at track_and_turf. You'll get all sorts of updates on all Fake Racers stuff, some USRL stuff as our truck series continues. The truck series that track into our sponsors. That will be live Thursday from Talladega. Tune in. It's going to be nuts. The Cup Series was live from Talladega this past Saturday, and it was a hoot. Matt was in there. It was hilarious. Shram Cam was something else.
Yeah, those Shram heads were cooking.
I love those sim tracks guys because they slowly start to understand what we are and that we're ridiculous. And it takes them a while, but they do get there.
I have to imagine that when they did Crank It Up and they put the Dewey on board, it was specifically because Jesse and I were referring to ourselves as Shram heads in the chat. So that was a good time.
Just a guy that they don't know. The most they know about Dewey Schramm is that he runs about 18th every night. You know what I mean? And you guys are flipping out. And I love it. I'm so on board.
I also dropped about 8 Go Cals in chat over the course of the night. So
I saw that, dude. Even when Cal wasn't there. Oh, my God.
Yeah,
I think they had fun though, because that race started out very rough.
Yeah,
and they had high spirits through it, mostly because Matt was commenting Shram Cam, Shram Head, or Go Cal every 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm sick, so I'm definitely not streaming this week. But Matt, do you have anything going on this week in your life that you would like to update the people on?
We're gonna have oof sides tomorrow.
Hell yeah, you are.
Wrapping up week 1 of the NFL season. It was very weird. I can't wait to talk about it. I'm pretty sure... Oh, hang on. I'm pretty sure state finals are this weekend. And I'm very out of shape, so I'm going to try to get as much riding in as possible in this week so I hopefully don't get absolutely smoked.
Hell yeah.
Outside of that, I can't really think of anything else going on. So,
do you do any other like training for like your racing? Like, do you like obviously you condition by like riding, but do you do anything else? Like, do you have like a home gym or anything? Anything like that?
I probably should. I would say the benefit of it is because it's just sprints. Right. I don't have to do a ton of stamina training. For me, it's just more about like getting my speed back up. So,
yeah. I noticed like when I was karting more often, like I basically got myself into like a mild, sort of, almost kind of in shape, like baseline, and then I just conditioned myself by karting constantly, and then I took a break from karting, and now I'm at where I'm at now, where I tried to condition myself by karting, and I almost fell out of the seat.
Yeah,
I needed oxygen at the end of it. So I was just curious, and I've been meaning to ask that question, but
yeah,
anyway.
It would probably help if I did. Which I always would. Yeah, I always think about. I'm like, I should probably do that, but like I was doing pretty well with the same regiment that I'd normally been doing. So I just haven't barely raced it all this summer is the problem. So
right,
yeah,
that makes sense.
But anyway,
well, hey, it is what it is. But what this was the Fake Racers Podcast, formerly known as the Real Racers Podcast. We appreciate you tuning in once again, and make sure you interact with us in some way. Cannot stress it enough. It really helps us. It really means a lot. We will see you next week. We won't be Joe-less next week, which means you'll have video and stuff, but we hope you enjoyed this week regardless. I've been Davey. That's been Matthew. This has been the Fake Racers Podcast. Good night.
Goodbye.